What's up, my friends? Welcome to another video. I'm Rob Stewart and I'm here to help you get your skin and your overall health back on track. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys 4 of the biggest mistakes carnivore dieters are making and pretty much how to fix them with relative ease. Carnivore diet mistake number 1. Avoiding organ meats and marrow altogether. What I found working with clients and myself and talking to a lot of people who are on the carnivore diet, including Shawn Baker, Dr. Paul Saladino, is that there's a large variation of people and what nutrients they need. But for most people, if you're having some issues getting a wider nutrient profile with your carnivore diet, it's super easy to add in some kidney, some liver, some sweetbread, some heart, in whatever amounts that you can. It will help bring a wider nutrient profile to your carnivore diet.
Organ meats taste like...
I know. Many of you guys don't like the taste of organ meats. I don't really like the taste of organ meats too much, but if you haven't tried the sweetbread, that one's really easy. Also, marrow is delicious, especially when you just make it into soups. You know, bone broth soups are absolutely delicious, easy to drink, easy to get down, and provide for you a ton of minerals and nutrients that you don't get from muscle meat. Also, if you haven't tried just cooking or eating raw marrow directly from the bone, tell you what, man, when it's fresh, it tastes like a sweet, delicious type of pudding. I really enjoy it, but it's gotta be fresh for me to enjoy it. Moving on. Number 2, a big mistake that many carnivore dieters do is they don't pay attention to their macros in any way, shape, or form. They just go, okay, all I have to do is eat steaks and ground beef and I will be good to go. And then later on down the line, they might be going through gluconeogenesis or having some issues with their energy levels, and a lot of times this can be worked out by just looking at your macros. And for those of you who have no clue what I'm talking about, your macros are the percent of fat, protein, and carbohydrates that make up your overall calories for the day. So for instance, where people fall into some issues with the carnivore diet with their macros is they don't have their fat high enough. They're not bringing in enough overt fat sources to have their fat percentage at about 60-70%, which can be really ideal for high fat dieters. On the other hand, if you're someone who doesn't do as well on a super high fat type of carnivore diet, then that won't work for you, and focusing more on the lean proteins and having a ton of protein and less fat will do better for you. There is some experimentation that needs to happen, and what I found is there are some people that can do either one, super high protein and less fat, and works for them, and vice versa. Those same people can do super high fat and less protein, that works for them. And then there's people who will suffer unless they have the right macros. So figuring out your macros is a super easy way to make the carnivore diet mistake go away and make it better. Number 3, and this is definitely a mistake that I don't see often, which is awesome, but we can learn from the vegan community with this one big time. Don't be dogmatic with your carnivore diet. You don't need to go online and if someone's eating a carnivore diet and has a lemon, tell them that's not the carnivore diet. Let's look at the main people who've been promoting this the longest. Myself, Dr. Paul Saladino, Dr. Shawn Baker. What do we have in common? We tell people that if you need to use a certain amount of plant foods that you just enjoy eating that makes the food more palatable, or even that might help you digest stuff, great, do it. There's no harm in it at all. Even in Dr. Paul Saladino's Carnivore Code book, his first tier of diet includes some plant foods. The key is knowing exactly what plant foods do not work for you and knowing which ones do and how you respond to them. For instance, I do fine with apples, I do fine with potatoes, I do fine with a certain amount of plant foods in my diet. And when I eat those foods, they make my carnivore diet even better. So some people would say, you're not on a carnivore diet. That's dogmatic, man. Give me a break. 80 to 90% of the food that goes into my body is animal fats and proteins. Carnivore-ish, carnivore full, who cares? Don't be dogmatic. And number 4, this one is so common, but it's also super easy to fix. Lack of calories or way too many calories. So there's 2 reasons, and I'll break this one down because it's pretty important. If you're not getting enough calories, you won't know this when you first start a carnivore diet because you're gonna be getting so much easily assimilated and easily digestible animal fats and proteins that you're gonna have not a huge hunger. And it's very normal to kind of be low in calories for the first few weeks, first month on the carnivore diet. What will happen though is if you're chronically short on calories, you'll start to have symptoms like lack of hormones, you won't sleep well, your workouts will suffer, you'll start to lose muscle mass, you won't have the energy, you won't have the mental focus, you won't have the sex drive, your biomarkers will start to dip down. With my clients and with myself, the first troubleshooting mechanism with the diet is always, where are your calories at? Are you getting enough? And the rad thing about the carnivore diet is that it is pretty hard to overeat. So you can really saturate yourself and be fully satisfied with each meal. Bringing it to the place of full satiation is totally fine. If you're struggling with the carnivore diet, the first place to look is your calories. Make sure you're getting enough. On the other hand, just like any diet, especially if you're doing more of a keto or a high-fat carnivore approach and you're having these symptoms, but you're eating a ton of food, you may be eating too much. If you're someone who only needs 3,000 calories a day, but you're smashing in 5,000 or 10,000 calories on a carnivore diet, you're gonna start to feel pretty crappy pretty fast. Now, I will say this, for new people, there will be a honeymoon period for being too high in calories. What I mean by this is, when you first go too high calorie and you're like in a bulking phase, your system has so much nutrients that it provides great sleep, great hormones, great sex drive, great workouts. You feel super energetic. But again, it's a honeymoon phase. It will come up, it will plateau, and then eventually you'll start to drop down really low and start to feel crappy again. So the key with calories is knowing the range that works best for you and allowing your body through its natural hunger mechanism and satiation method to get enough. Don't get too much, but get enough. And that is a major key. It's a major troubleshooting issue. And it's a big mistake that a lot of carnivore dieters, especially new ones, make early on before they figure this out. So a little review. Number one, organ meats and marrow, don't skip them. I mean, skip them by all means. You're your own person. But if you're struggling on a carnivore diet, you might add organ meats or marrow, and that could shift things drastically. Number two, know your macros. Do you do better with high fat? Do you do better with less fat and higher protein? Where do you stand with that? Look at your own data and make a healthy choice. Number three, there's no reason for this community to be dogmatic. Most of us have left dogmatic communities to find this community because of the non-dogmatic nature of it. There is no need for dogma, it doesn't help anybody. And also, what I've found is most people who are having a dogmatic stance are newbies who are just overly enthusiastic or people who are just crazy. Number four, lack of calories or overeating. Find that balance. Allow your natural hunger and satiation methods to guide this process. But you might have to use chronometer or you might have to calorie count for a few weeks or a month to get the rhythm of it, and then you'll be locked in and it's pretty easy. That's gonna do it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching the video. Leave all your comments and questions down below. Remember to smash that like button, hit that notification bell, subscribe and share as much as you want. If you don't want, whoop-de-doo, that's great as well. For those of you who are looking to get a hold of me to become one of my private clients, there's a link in the description box for a consultation. Also, that same link will bring you to holistichealthactivation.com, where you can get the 3 phases workbook, which is my step-by-step guide for figuring out the proper diet for you, pretty much carnivore diet based. Also down below, you can pick up some Skinessa, which is by far the world's most beautiful, wonderful, lovely probiotic for skin health focused people. It's the first, and it still probably is the only legitimate probiotic focused for things like eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, rosacea. It's good stuff. And that's gonna do it for me today, guys. Much love. I'll be back with many more videos really soon. Peace and best of luck to you out there.